Let's talk about next season and why I think it's very important for Stephanie White to make some adjustments. Look, the reality is she's likely to come back as their head coach. I know that's probably an answer you don't want to hear. You probably want to talk about, well, is she ever going to get fired anytime soon? The reality is the GM of the Fever is going to look at this season and go, our best player was out pretty much the entire season. We didn't stay healthy, and we still found a way to make the playoffs. If we have everybody back and we get time to gel together, we should be much better. Now, my concern, and this is a valid thing I've seen around on Twitter and other people making videos about the Fever, is her style. Look, Stephanie White loves her teams playing defense. She loves to drag it out, make it ugly basketball. The problem is this person right here, Caitlin Clark, has to play with more pace. That's when she's at her best. When you have her playing off the ball and she's watching the offense just be stagnant and she doesn't get enough touches, it goes down the drain pretty fast. Fourth quarters have been horrendous. I have seen so many times they have scored under 20 points this year. Matter of fact, it's been like between the 10 to 12 points. That's atrocious stuff. And they've had leads at home. They also have been within 5 points to come back and win in the fourth quarter. And the offense just sputters. It has to do with coaching. And you can preach about defense all day long, but you have to outscore your opponent. And that's the thing I want to see her get better at. If she's not strong in that area where she can't scheme for a good offense and make those adjustments, get somebody as an assistant who can help in that department. If you're trying to be like the Detroit Pistons, where you make it ugly basketball, you got to have the personnel to go out there and execute the game plan. Like the Pistons back then had Ben Wallace, Rasheed, Tayshaun Prince, Richard Hamilton, Chauncey Billups. The best offensive weapon, in my opinion, was Chauncey Billups, and Rasheed was right behind him. Or you could argue Richard Hamilton, but that was a defensive-minded team, and they had the personnel to go out there and make it ugly. The Fever don't have that same personnel. They're better when they're running in transition, playing with a ton of pace. That ball is moving around, and they're getting a lot of offense. Slowing it down does not help this team whatsoever. You look at the roster, if you're playing someone like Dantas, she's more of an offensive weapon. She's offense first and defense second. And you want her playing to your scheme that isn't going to work out very well. If you have somebody like, for example, Michaela Tipson, you can give her some burn. She's a rookie. If the expectation is we're trying to make the playoffs and finish as a higher seed, then she's not going to get a lot of playing time. If you want to play Tipson more next year, I think it's a great idea because she's more defensive minded and it fits what White's trying to implement. The issue is I don't think that's the best idea. So if White wants to make improvements to the Fever and she wants this team to elevate to a new level, this offense has to get better. You can't have a situation where we're going to play Connecticut Sun basketball because they don't have the personnel to go out and execute that game plan. You got to mix it up. You have to make sure, yes, you preach about defense, but you make sure their offense is humming because they've got the talent on their roster. You've got Cunningham, who was shooting well from three. Like she was cooking as the season progressed. Caitlin Clark, we know she's going to shoot better from the field. Aaliyah Boston, she's very offensive minded. Not to say she can't play defense, but she's really good on offense. And then Chloe Bibby, who can knock down some threes. Natasha Howard. Like you have some offensive minded, of course, Kelsey Mitchell, offensive minded players on this team. And if you're trying to preach defense 24/7, you're not doing the team a service. You're doing them a disservice. So my thing is this: if they're going to keep Stephanie White around, if that's the plan, I would give her a short leash. If this offense isn't humming, if it's not gelling together, and they have too many moments where they're stagnant, they go through long spurts of not scoring the basketball, and yes, they might be a little bit better defensively. You have to look at that situation and go, we can't keep Stephanie White around. Maybe she's better in a situation where she has more defensive-like players on the team and not so many offensive-minded players. That would be better for her situation. That's why the Sun did so well last year because they had a lot of defensive players who could lock you down, like a Carrington. And when you don't have that on the Fever, there's a disconnect. So I just think for next season, in order for the Fever to thrive, if White's going to stick around, in my personal opinion, if she can't put together a consistent offensive game plan where when defenses make adjustments, you're not so predictable, then you have to realize if I can't make those adjustments, I need to have a really good assistant by my side who can point out those things to me. And then they can help implement those plays in the game. Because there's too many times where teams are like, okay, we know what they're going to do on offense, and it's so predictable. So I just think one of the things, and again, every coach has strengths and weaknesses. So if White wants to thrive in Indiana, there has to be some evaluations this offseason, from the players to the coaches and to the organization. And if I'm the GM of the Fever, I'm giving her a short leash. I'm not waiting around 20 plus games and saying, okay, we're going to fire Stephanie White. I'm giving her a minimum of 10 games. And if this offense isn't better, and it really comes down to those fourth quarters, if they have those moments where they're just really bad again and they're blowing leads and they're scoring like 10 to 12 points in the fourth quarter, I'm cutting her loose. I'm not waiting around because she wants to implement a specific system and it doesn't serve your best player. Caitlin Clark is really good when she has the ball in her hands. She's making decisions to shoot or pass to her teammates and create shots for everybody else. And also, they're running in transition or they're playing with more pace. Look, I'm okay with some isolation for Kelsey Mitchell because you want to throw the defense off guard. But if that's your only way of scoring the basketball, or you have other players that's trying to play hero ball and there's no type of continuity, there's no type of flow in the offense and no innovation, then you got to look at the coach and go, you know what? You might be good somewhere else, but the personnel we have here in Indiana doesn't fit what you're trying to execute. So if White's going to stick around, I'm going to say it again. If this does not get addressed and we're seeing the same type of outcomes for next season, it's time to let go of Stephanie White. It really is. I'm not saying she's a bad coach. And even though I think somewhat she is, but the style she's implementing, because you look at the roster you have, like you have Caitlin Clark, you have Kelsey Mitchell. You got to look at your, roster and go, I have more offensive-minded players. I got to make those adjustments if I'm going to get the best out of the Fever. Because this team, in my opinion, for next season should be top 4. There's just no excuses for it. You've got the personnel, you've got the talent, get the job done. And if we see them go through long stretches of not scoring the basketball and there's no adjustments being made out there to combat what the defense is throwing at you, then we got to look at Stephanie White and go, you probably should pack your bags. Fair or unfair, there's expectations for the Fever now. And they made the playoffs for a second straight season. I think that deserves some credit. But this roster will be healthy, and you expect that Caitlin Clark will be very motivated to just go out there and set the world on fire and take the league by storm. Because there's going to be a lot of people doubting her, saying, oh, you didn't shoot well from the field. She'll be out there to prove a lot of people wrong. And you need to make sure you have the right roster and the right structure to maximize the Fever's roster and the talent that they have. We'll see how it all plays out. Hope you guys enjoyed this video today. I'd love to hear your thoughts on Stephanie White and your expectations for next season, what the Fever need to do to maximize this roster. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.